My wife always encouraged my love for hunting, until one trip changed everything. Hunting had been my thing for as long as I could remember. It was one of those old passions that never really faded. After getting married, I didn't go as often, but giving it up completely was never an option. My wife didn't mind too much as long as I didn't overdo it. Everything between us was good, for the most part. I wasn't the kind of guy who sat on the couch all day ignoring responsibilities. I helped with chores, cooked dinner often, and we spent our weekends together. Our relationship felt solid. At the same time, we had a healthy balance of spending time apart. I'd go out with friends for a drink or spend a couple of days hunting, while she hung out with her own friends. Still, there was something I didn't see coming. That day, when I went hunting, everything seemed fine. My wife helped me pack up, and we joked around a bit. "I'll be waiting for you with the loot. Bring me something nice, will you?" she said with a smile. "You know I don't come back empty-handed. Worst case, we'll hit a restaurant together when I get back," I replied. I was heading out with two buddies, Jacob and Matteo. Jacob had brought along his friend Dylan, which I didn't mind. The crew was solid, the weather was perfect. What else could you ask for? It felt like any other trip. We planned to spend 2 or 3 days in the woods, knew the area well, had our favorite camping spots, and brought our tents. That first night, we settled around the campfire after a meal, cracking open a few drinks. Out of nowhere, Dylan decided to share something, and for some reason, he picked me as his confidant. I had no idea why. He started talking about how things between him and his wife had gone cold. They were more like roommates than a married couple, so he'd gotten himself a mistress. They had worked together and had to keep it hush-hush, but since he'd been transferred to a different department, they could finally be open about it. "You wouldn't believe how hot she is. And the best part? She doesn't expect anything from me. She's married too, so it works out perfectly," he said, looking way too proud of himself. Honestly, I was getting bored with his self-proclaimed ladies' man act, but I was raised to let people finish talking, no matter how much I wanted to cut them off. He went into a long-winded description of his mistress, and from my expression, he could tell I wasn't impressed. "You don't believe me, huh?" he asked, clearly sensing my sarcasm. His reaction to my skepticism only made him more determined to prove his point. He started fumbling with his phone. "I'm going to show you her pictures. Then you'll see just how stunning she is." He scrolled through his phone and eventually handed it to me. I grabbed it, glanced at the screen, and in that instant, every emotion hit me at once: anger, shock, confusion, and a deep, bitter sense of betrayal. Right there in front of me were photos of Olivia, my wife, in a semi-nude state. I froze. The phone clenched in my hand. My mind couldn't process what I was seeing. Dylan was still talking, but I couldn't hear a word of it. Before I even thought about what I was doing, the phone flew from my hands and into the fire. Dylan started yelling, rushing toward me in a fury, but he ended up crashing into the tent instead. I wasn't looking for a fight, but his aggression was hard to ignore. His phone was beyond saving now. Jacob and Matteo jumped in, pulling him off me and trying to defuse the situation. It took a few moments, but when Dylan finally realized whose wife he had been messing with, his anger faded into panic. "But how was I supposed to know it was your wife?" he stammered, trying to sound innocent but coming off as pathetic. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice calm despite the rage boiling inside me. "If you come anywhere near me again, you'll lose more than just your phone." My friend stepped in to take him away, and I spent the rest of the night sitting alone by the fire, my mind spinning. By morning, there was no reason to stay. The hunt was over before it even started. When I got home earlier than expected, Olivia was shocked to see me. "You're back already? What happened?" she asked, clearly caught off guard. "Nothing special," I said, barely keeping my voice steady. "I just ran into your lover on the hunt. He couldn't stop singing your praises." Her face froze. "What are you talking about? This is some kind of joke, right?" "I wish it were," I replied, my voice cold. "But I'm being more honest than I've ever been." She fell silent, just staring at me. The weight of my words sank in. After what felt like an eternity, she finally spoke, her voice shaky. "So, what now?" "Now," I said, my tone firm. "It's over. We're getting a divorce. I don't need a wife like you." Her face twisted in disbelief. Just like that? You're going to erase everything we had, everything we built? Her voice trembled. Yes, I said. You erased it when you took a lover. Without another word, she walked to another room and shut the door. Maybe she thought I'd calm down, feel sorry, or reconsider. But all I felt was cold emptiness. I didn't want to see her, hear her, or be anywhere near her. I just wanted her out of my life. After a while, she came back out, her voice quieter, resigned. I'll give you a couple of days to pack up. I'll file for divorce tomorrow, I told her. There were tears. There was begging. But none of it mattered anymore. I was done. The divorce went through quickly, as expected. Olivia's affair didn't last long after that. Her lover had a family of his own, and the last thing he needed was more complications. Things got tense for her at work, and she eventually had to move back to her parents' house in her hometown. With no job and no apartment, she had nowhere else to go. From what I heard, her parents weren't too thrilled to have her back, either. And that was it. Even the strongest-looking relationships can crumble. The perfect wife may not be so perfect after all. It was a harsh reminder to keep your eyes open, because sometimes life throws surprises at you when you least expect them.